guys, welcome back to my channel. We are doing another playing with new makeup today because that's how much makeup I have accumulated lately. So we're gonna jump right into it. I've been using a lot of new makeup also over on Instagram. So again, if you're not following me there, I've been doing weekly get ready with me's where I use some new makeup like the Smashbox Halo Tinted Moisturizer I used not long ago. Sometimes when I get in these like moods of just purchasing a lot of new makeup, I accumulate so much that I just feel like in order to show all of it, I would have to do new makeup video after new makeup video. And so I've started sharing some on Instagram. So again, be sure to follow me there. I believe everything but the bronzer and highlight is new today. So let's go ahead and jump in. I have not color corrected my eyes because I am going to use a primer per se today. And while this does not market itself as a primer on the box, it does have it as a step for how to use on Sephora's website. And it's the Milk Hydro Grip Set and Refresh Spray. I have not tried the Hydro Grip powder that everybody loves, so I can't say anything about that. But I was interested in this, and I have been using it as a primer for the last couple of days. And I bought the mini. Usually when there's a mini size available of something, sorry y'all, I have a hair on my face. It's probably one of Zeus's. I tend to buy that, even though I know the value is better if you buy the bigger one, but I just have so much. I would much rather have the small size. So I'm going to spray some as a primer and kind of let that sink in while I do my color corrector, which is not new. It's the Color Science 3-in-1 Total Eye. This is in the color Tan, and I usually come on camera with this already done, but you'll be able to see the gloriousness of this product. And this is a brand new e.l.f. sponge. I just pulled it out of my backup drawer, and I love the feel of a new sponge. This is my favorite by far. Okay, so I feel like that spray has had a chance to sink into my skin as well as it's going to. Let's go ahead and use the new NARS Soft Matte Complete Foundation. I know there's a lot of people that have been doing reviews on this. They got the PR package. They had it out like the day it launched. I just bought it the day it launched, and it got here. I got the color Patagonia Medium 1.2, which is the color that I use in the Sheer Glow, which is one of my all-time favorite foundations in my kit. I use it all the time. This is kind of to complement their Soft Matte Complete Concealer that they've had on the market for a while. It comes in a squeezy tube if you haven't seen one of those multiple videos. And it's much thinner than I judge a matte foundation to be. You know, I just have kind of this preconceived notion that matte foundations are going to be thick, but this is not. It's much thinner. It's also 1.5 fluid ounces, which is 50% more than most standard foundations. Complain about that. So I'm just going to dot a little bit on my face, use my IT Cosmetics foundation brush. I've not tried this with a sponge yet because I just most of the time prefer to use a brush for foundation. And when I first used this and the brush worked so well, I just thought, I don't even need to try with the sponge. So you can see how fast that evened out the tone of my skin. This side you can see some spots and some redness. This side is basically all covered up. I would say this is a medium to full coverage foundation. I haven't even looked at what they market it to be, but from my experience, that's the coverage that I get. It's hard to say how much I use since it isn't a squeeze tube versus a pump. I can't say, oh, you know, I use one pump or two pumps or whatever, but I do think that every time that I've used this, I have squeezed out way too much on my hand. You need very little to achieve a nice coverage, which I'm not going to complain about, especially since it comes in such a large package. This is going to last you quite a while. The only issue I've had with this foundation since trying it out is that there's a spot right here on my nose where sometimes product just doesn't want to adhere to, and this foundation is one of those products. So and it's really just on this side. So I really have to go in there with like a smaller detailed brush and kind of push it in, and it still kind of doesn't want to adhere. I don't consider that a flaw of the foundation. I consider it a flaw of my face, so I don't count it against a product if that happens. So this is the finish. I think it is a very pretty soft matte, as it says. It is not flat, but it's definitely not radiant or luminous. Now the new concealer is the Makeup Forever Matte Velvet Skin High Coverage Multi-Use Concealer. I have the color 2.5, which is called Pink Beige, and it said for light skin with neutral pink undertones. I tend to go for concealers that either say peach or pink in the description because it will further enhance the coverage of my dark circles on top of whatever corrector I choose to use. And I've said it before and I'll keep saying it, the more help I can get with my darkness, the better. So this is a very large doe foot applicator, and I want to show you how much product comes out right when you pull it out of the tube. That is a lot of product. You absolutely do not need that much. So I kind of feel like it's a mascara where you have to put it on the side, get a little bit of that product out. And what I do is I put one little dot here, one little dot here, one little dot here, one dot here, a little down my nose. All you need. Now, if I would have kept all that product on it from the get-go, I would have applied too much. And then I will blend it out with my beauty sponge. And this is pretty high coverage for a concealer. It's not going to completely obliterate my darkness, but to be fair, very rarely does a concealer do that. And I'm okay with that because I'm human and I have dark circles. I don't want to look plastic. But it does a pretty good job at covering majority of that darkness. It is also, as it states, a matte concealer. You're not going to get any luminosity, anything like that out of this concealer, but it doesn't suck the life out of your skin. So that's good too. I've used this quite a bit, and while I like it, it's not my favorite. Really right now, the Revlon Candid and the Kosas concealer are my favorites, and not much can compete with that at this moment. But it is one that I will reach for. It's not one that's going to end up in the back of my drawer, especially on those days where I do feel like I need a little bit of a higher coverage in my concealer. I am going to use a not so newer, but I've used it before on camera, highlight that is cream, and it is the Chantecaille Liquid Lumiere in the color Sheen. And because this is cream / liquid, I'm going to put this on before I set anything. I'm just going to put it where I typically put highlighter, just for a little bit of a sheen. Very gorgeous, very natural highlight. The only thing, and I honestly don't know that they could change this, that I don't like is the applicator, because I always squeeze way too much out of my hand. So I do waste quite a bit of this product. Now, the one thing that I'm going to do before I go on to my eyes, which I've been doing the past couple days and really enjoyed it with multiple foundations, is take this Milk Hydro Grip primer / setting spray again and set my face before I do anything else. When I'm done with all my liquids and creams, this is the step that I do. And I feel like, and I do this on my clients, so I don't really know why I've never done it on myself, but I feel like it really helps kind of lock everything in even before we go in and set it further. So let's go in and go to the eyes. I'm going to be using the brand new Urban Decay Stoned eyeshadow palette. They did send this to me, and I have used it once yesterday. I'm going to take the brush out so I can show you what it looks like. Very, very pretty. A little bit misleading when you first look at it, because these colors right here, you don't really know what kind of finish they're going to be. They're not chunky while looking at them, but they have that kind of like gemstone quality to them. When you put your finger in them, they are almost like ColourPop Super Shock shadows, where they're a little bit like bouncy almost. Bouncy, I said that weird. And then the two colors on each end are matte shades. So yesterday I did more of like a warmer look. Today I'm going to do a little bit of a cooler look. The only true transition shade to me is this peach color right here. And while that's not necessarily cool, it's going to work anyways. It's called Antidote. And I'm going to pick that up on my reference number 15. And I'm going to apply that in my crease. It is not the darkest color on me. That's okay. I'm using it more just to transition some other shades and give a little bit of dimension. So you can see it as you build it up. Again, even though this is a peach shade, I still think it's going to work fine with a cool tone look. Now, you could definitely still have this be a one and done palette and just go into your bronzer that you're using that day for your crease or transition shade and not have to pull out another palette. Or you can mix one of two of the darker shades with either this peach color or this, bone shade called Good Karma right here to make those darker shades a little bit lighter. So yesterday I used Tiger's Eye, and it's absolutely gorgeous. It's this really pretty dimensional gold. And I will say that about all of these, they are very dimensional. This Oho color right here, this blue color, I mean, look at that. So, so pretty. And I think, let me see, this is Meditate, which is like a pretty rose gold color. And then this is Vibes, which is like a silvery pink. And then this is Raw Energy, which has more of like a purple tone to it. I think I'm going to use Vibes. Now again, I had mentioned the kind of finish of these being a little, not misleading, but you kind of don't know what to expect when you first look at the palette. They are pretty glittery and metallic looking. And because there are so many of them, if that is not your, vibe, this is probably not going to be the palette for you. But you can see in the three-dimensional packaging, that's what they're going for. They really want it to be like gems, have that really pretty finish of a gemstone like glittering in the light. So I understand why they did that. So I'm going to take, I think I said Vibes. I'm going to put it on my pinky finger. I do think that these apply the best with your finger. I've tried them with a brush and I just really prefer the finger. I think with the finger you get the most impact with that gorgeous like glittery metallic finish. So that's the color Vibes. Very, very, very pretty. While these are glittery and metallic, I don't necessarily think that they make the crinkles and stuff on my eyes any worse. But again, that's something that is different for everybody. So if you're not comfortable with this kind of finish, this may not be the palette for you. But I think that the color payoff of these is so good that a lot of times colors like this are better as toppers, but these can be used by themselves for sure. Now I'm actually taking the brush that came in the palette. It's a dual-ended brush. I'm gonna take the little bit of a fluffier side and I'm going into this third eye color right down here. Yesterday I used Hext, which is a really pretty warmer shade with Tiger's Eye, but I think that this third eye is going to go with this look very well. And I'm just gonna place that on the end. So again, my typical 3-step, crease color, lid color, outer V color. But I feel like, especially when I'm reviewing a palette, that's one of the best type of techniques to use on the eye to really give you an idea of how these colors work together. Now, if you want to go in and do like a halo eye or, an all matte eye, by all means. There are many different things you can do with this palette, but I just feel like this is a good technique for actual review purposes. I find that the mattes are very pigmented, they're very blendable, they're very forgiving. I really don't have anything bad to say about this palette. It's just a little bit of a different texture than I think some people are used to for the majority of a palette to be, so it's something to keep in mind. But if you like these really pretty, shiny, shimmery shades, that's a lot of alliteration there, Mandy. I think you are going to enjoy this palette because the couple times that I have used it so far, I've actually enjoyed it as well. I have been using a different product lately to set my under eyes, and it's the Jane Iredale contour palette in the color Warm, and I've been using this matte highlight shade to set my under eyes with my typical Wayne Goss No. 2 brush, and I've really been enjoying the effect that that gives. It brightens up my under eyes. It doesn't make the lines and wrinkles any worse. It's not a heavy powder by any means, and it just sets it nicely. This is also something that I use sometimes to touch up throughout the day. If I feel like my darkness is peeking through a little bit more than I want it to, I will top it off with this as well. So for setting the entire face, I'm going to be using the Shiseido Synchro Skin Invisible Silk Loose Powder in Radiant. This is semi-new. It's new to me. I've used it, again, on Instagram. This is a radiant powder. If you have oily skin, I don't know how you're going to like it. Although if you do have oily skin and you have used it, I always welcome comments and experiences down in the description box. But if you have dry to normal skin and you don't like powdery look on your face, this is the Jenny Patinkin powder brush, by the way. You will love this powder because it does give that really pretty radiant finish. non-powdery look to your skin without having glitter, because nobody wants glitter all over their face. It's one thing to have it on your eyes, it's another to have it all over your face. I don't have any bronzer, shocker. I've been trying not to buy any bronzers, even though that's, aside from foundation, my favorite makeup product. So I pulled out the Becca Sunlit Bronzed Powder in Bronzed Bondi, one of my very favorite bronzers. And I'm using the Osmosis Large Accent Brush, which is one of my favorite bronzer brushes for certain formulas. I honestly can't say I've ever used it with this one, but it seems to be working just fine. The Bronzed Bonds Dye. Y'all, this is getting kind of comical and a little frustrating. The Bronze Bondi bronzer has a little bit of like a reddish undertone to it, which I absolutely adore in a bronzer because it gives that true suntanned look to your face. It is not a matte bronzer. It has a little bit of a sheen to it, which again, I also love, especially when I am wearing more of a matte foundation. I like to bring back the life in the face a little bit with my powder products, which is why I chose a powder to set that had a little bit of a radiant finish as well as a radiant bronzer. We already have the highlight on the skin, so I'm gonna go into the blush, which is also new. I've used it on Instagram, but it's the Lawless Make Me Blush Velvet Blush in the color Secure. It almost matches my shirt a little bit. This is a matte blush. I don't want to go too heavy on the shine on the skin. And it's like a peachy pink color. Very pretty. This is the only color that I have of these blushes, but so far I have been happy with how it performs. If you have other colors within this line that you love, please share also in the comment section. And I don't think I'm gonna take my Hourglass powder. I think I'm just gonna take the brush that I typically buff with to go over everything that I've laid down and kind of diffuse any harsh lines. Now this is still going to buff your face. You don't have to have a powder product to use with it for it to give you the effect of no harsh lines on the face. The reason that I typically use the Hourglass powder is because I like the finish that it gives to the face. I like the luminosity, I like the radiance, I like the almost filter that it applies, but I also feel like I have kind of that going on with all the products that I've used already. So, you know, one less product's not gonna hurt. It's definitely not something I'm going to continue to do because that Hourglass powder will forever be a staple in my collection and my routine, but it's something that I don't feel like is always necessary. Now I'm gonna go back into this third eye color, but I want to diffuse it a little bit. So I'm gonna mix it with that peach shade that we put in the crease, and I'm gonna buff that under my eye with my Wayne Goss number 20 brush. The final step for my eyes, I'm taking the other flat shader side of the brush that came in the palette, and I'm taking a little bit of this Good Karma bone color, and I'm using that as my kind of inner corner and brow bone highlight. This is a matte shade, but when I have something super shimmery and almost glittery on my lid, I think it's good to kind of balance that out with a matte highlight versus something that is super shimmery and then the shimmer can be just a little much. Before I go into my lashes and my mascara, I'm gonna do one more spray of the Milk Setting Mist. And that kind of sandwich effect, that primer slash spraying after foundation and creams slash this is gonna very much set your makeup in for the day. Okay, so I did my mascara off camera and I used, I think the same mascara I used in my last new makeup, the Lash Princess by Essence. And now I'm going to do lips. I don't know if this is new or not. In fact, I don't think it is. It's new to me. It's the Marc Jacobs New Nudes Sheer Gel Lipstick in the color Screen Test. And it was on sale on the Marc Jacobs website, so honestly, it might not even be available anymore. And I just had some of that blue eyeshadow on my face. I have no idea how that got there, but I just took it off. So my kind of nude, I know. It's a gel lipstick, so it's very moisturizing. But I am going to use one of the new Beyond glosses from Beauty Counter, and this is in the shade Dahlia. Even when I wear lipstick that is moisturizing, I still like to put a gloss on top. Now, this is much darker than what it appeared on my lips because I was covering that nude lipstick. So I'll swatch it for you. These glosses are some of my favorite, and that's the color Dahlia. Oh, I just love them so much. Y'all know my love for Bare Shimmer, so I wanted to use a different color. So that is the finished look using lots of new makeup. As always, I will have everything linked and listed down below in the description box. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. I hope you're all staying happy, safe, and sane, and most of all that you got and have a very blessed day.